And as we leave St James Bermondsey behind and its churchyard and the lovely pub, the Gregorian, we go on to our next location. Back out along the Jamaica Road. And here we are, Southwark Park, Paradise Gate, and that's where you're going to join me. And here we are, Southwark Park. There's an information board just inside here, so I'll read that out to you. Wait up a sec. Over here, Southwark Park. This is where we are, just looking out onto the Jamaica Road, and that's the London Half Marathon that you're seeing and hearing there. Southwark Park. Southwark Park is Grade 2 listed and covers 26 hectares and opened to the public on the 19th of June 1869. Its design was based on an original map produced by the superintendent architect Mr. Volamy and Alexander Mackenzie. The original intention was for part of the park to be used as building plots, but the vestry of Bermondsey opposed this. In 1884, a bandstand, which was acquired from the Great Exhibition in South Kensington, was placed in the park. 1885, substantial changes in the layout occurred, including the addition of the lake. In 1908, the lake was enlarged and adapted for boating. The English Rose Garden replaced island bedding in 1934 and was commissioned by Dr. Salter to create a peaceful retreat for people to relax. In 1942, it was renamed to the Ada Salter Garden in memory of his wife. In 1872, the carriage drive was reduced in width when the building plans were eventually shelved. The original carriage drive leaving from Jamaica Gate now divides the park. And as I say, we're there. And where we're going to be going to first is there. Then from there we'll head off to the boating lake. Then after that the Ada Salter Memorial Garden. And then to end off part one, we'll be catching a little something nice along there. And for part two, you'll catch me back at the bandstand and I'll walk you through the park and through some scenes and other bits and pieces, and we will get an art gallery in a park. So the bandstand being just over there, that's where you're going to join me first. And here is that bandstand. There's some information about it here, so I'll read that out to you. Southwark Park opened in 1869 without provision for public music. For the Victorians, the park was more about nature and health rather than entertainment. However, the local community made it clear they would like to hear music in their park, and by 1878 the Crown Brass Band was given permission to play on Saturdays. The band, composed of working men from George H. Hammer & Co.'s limited factory in Bermondsey, performed on a small stage of their own making. In 1883, a permanent wooden bandstand was installed before being relocated to Plumstead Common. It was replaced in 1889 by a fine iron structure designed by the architect Captain Francis Fulk, 1823-65. The London County Council bought that bandstand from the Great International Exhibition in South Kensington at the instigation of local representative Lawrence Stevens. It served the park for many years as a venue for concerts, dances, public meetings, and even an open-air school classes. In the late 1950s, Fulk's distinguished work was replaced by a functional rectangular bandstand which was eventually removed without replacement for many years. In 1999, the Heritage Lottery Fund awarded a grant for the restoration of historic features in Southwark Park, resulting in this replica of Fulk's bandstand, which you can see today. So we'll have a look at that in a minute, but that's the original. moved to Plumstead Common. That's where you see it there. This is the one that they purchased, the folk bandstand, the Great International Exhibition of South Kensington. This is photographed in the 1860s. This is the folk bandstand in Southwark Park here. What, for some God knows reason, they took it down for and replaced it with this. As I've said before, they were no respecters of the past in the past sometimes. And now we'll have a wee wander around this structure. Get the sun behind us. Underneath by the looks of it as well. Probably for oh yeah, it'll be for the electrics, I should imagine. There we are. That's a bit of view of it, isn't it? Nice job on the restoration, or replica I will say. There were some people practicing boxing in here earlier, so I had to hang around for a bit so I could come back. Oh look, it's even got an attic. Oh gosh, someone's been sick. How common. Yeah, there's an attic door up there. There's the London Half Marathon going on through there. Bless them. And in a minute, that is where you're going to be joining me over there at the lake. But before we go, one last little view of our bandstand. Now you'll join me over at the lake. You join me at Southwark Park Lake. The lake, Southwark Park, 1885 to 1908, 2001 to 2. Although not an original feature of the park, when it opened in June 1869, by 1883, Rotherhithe Vestry, calling upon the Metropolitan Board of Works, the owners of the park, for the provision of an ornamental lake, as it would considerably add to the enjoyment of the park by the public. By December 1884, a contract for £2,492 was awarded to Mr. G. Bell to construct a lake of concrete and puddle clay. On the 18th of August 1885, lake filling ceremony was held, and on the following Saturday notice was given that a pair of swans graciously provided by Queen Victoria, along with other donated waterfowl, would be placed upon the water at 5:30 p.m. Crowds lined the fence perimeter of the lake to witness this royal gift, but not all went to plan, as the royal swan keeper was unwell. So a few days later, in the presence of local councillor and park keeper and journalist Joe and Kenny, as they became known, took up the residence on the lake. By the turn of the 20th century, calls were made to extend the lake to accommodate boating. In 1908, petitioning by local residents to the extension plans were given the go-ahead and construction commenced. The cost of material came to £2,000, with labour supplied free through the Central Unemployment Body for London, 280 men, nearly half of which came from Bermondsey, worked on the lake for a 30-week period. The newly enlarged boating lake was officially opened on Saturday the 29th of August 1908. In the 1930s, a portion of the lake was annexed to provide children's paddling pool, but enemy action during World War II caused the lake base to crack. The lake was downsized again in the 1970s and 80s. During the Heritage Lottery and Restoration Project of 2001 to 2002, the lake was restored to its original 1908 size. Wildlife on the lake includes swans, tufted duck, mallard, moorhen and Canada geese. And you will now join me on the lake, and after that it'll be for Ada Salter's garden. Hello ladies and gents. I told you it'd be something a bit different, didn't I? People have been able to row and boat around this lake for years. Oh, isn't this just charming? I don't think the poor old bird life thinks it's charming. Let's just drift for a wee while, shall we? That's not a bad way to spend a Sunday afternoon. I've certainly been to worse places. There's a big, what the boat shed said is a big gay festival on at the moment in the park. So if you can hear music, that's what that is. Goes. How charming. Looking back the way we've come from. I thought I'd lost my wallet then. Nearly had panic stations. This is only £6. Piss them off, Canada geese. They could be very nasty Canada geese. Ooh. On this round. More hens, I think. Going backwards now. Almost got us stranded then. I'll just pause you and resume the service in a minute. Whew. Normal service has resumed. That bit of the lake you can't go through. Right, I think twice round is enough. Now for some historical images. And here it is, Ada Salter's garden, a beautiful little spot in memory and commemoration of a beautiful lady. Ada Salter Garden. It's a lovely little spot. And the best is yet to come. Hope you all enjoyed the little jaunt along the boating lake. My legs now feel like jelly. That was lovely though. All the wildlife along there, it's perfect. It's a beautiful little spot. Got an information board down here. Ada Salter Garden, 1936. Born in Raunds, Northamptonshire on the 20th of July 1866, Ada Brown moved to London in 1896 to join the West London Methodist Mission in Bloomsbury. In 1897 she transferred to the Bermondsey settlement, living first in Lower Road and then in Cherry Garden Street. While there she met Dr. Alfred Salter, whom she married in 1900. Ada and Alfred were both committed to the eradication of Bermondsey's dreadful slums. As a doctor, Alfred focused more on the health and diet and clinics, while as a lover of nature, Ada focused more on the housing, trees and gardens. Initially the couple lived on Jamaica Road, where Dr. Salter established his first surgery, but they finally settled down at 5 Storks Road, a house which had a great advantage for Ada of possessing a garden. In 1902 a daughter Joyce was born, but tragically died in 1910 during an epidemic of scarlet fever. In 1909 Ada had become one of the country's first women councillors and the first woman councillor in Bermondsey. In 1914 Ada and Alfred as Quakers opposed the First World War. In 1922 Ada became the first woman mayor in London and the first woman Labour mayor in Britain. In the same year Alfred was elected MP. They were now in a position to tackle the slums. In the 1920s, Ada's Beautification Committee transformed Bermondsey, lining the streets with trees and filling open spaces with flowers. At the same time, her Housing Committee began replacing slum tenements with houses and gardens. In 1934, Herbert Morrison put Ada on the London County Council in charge of all parks and open spaces in London. She planted trees and improved parks all over the capital, but for Southwark Park she made special effort, designing an old English garden with a beautiful terrace crowned by a rose-covered pergola overlooking the lake. After her death on the 4th of December 1942, the LCC decided to rename this garden the Ada Salter Garden, which local people had already begun to call it. Bermondsey Borough Council also paid tribute to Ada's life and work by planting a tree of heaven, a tree of favoured by Ada, near the eastern entrance, together with a memorial stone. The stone replacement tree can still be seen today. It's lucky because we pretty much got it to ourselves at the moment. sundial. It's around 1 o'clock. Good heavens, that actually works as well. 12:40. I've just checked on my phone. Yeah, 12:40. Excellent. I like that. Old technology, eh? Thank you for not feeding us bread. Bread makes us ill, lacks nutrients we need. Rotting bread pollutes the water, kills our fish, gives us disease and makes our water smelly and encourages rats. We do like birdseed, cooked rice, oats, chopped lettuce and peas. And this is the bit of the lake that you can't go round on the paddle boats. So I wanted to show you it from this end. And of course, the Ada Salter Memorial Garden. For the beautiful little spot it is. So they've blocked a load of the entrances off. So I'm hoping I can find this memorial stone and tree. If not, we've had a lovely wander around a beautiful little garden, haven't we? Maybe it's through here. We'll have a look this way on our way out, but we'll go this way. Can't see anything. See that they've closed a lot of the entrances off for some reason. I think it may be because of this thing they've got going on in the park. And that, ladies and gentle personages, is the Ada Salter Memorial Garden. If I can find this stone, you'll see that. If not, I hope you've all enjoyed. And for our next location, it's just a short walk over the road, so I don't need a map. It is I, Leclerc. I say as I lift my glasses. Anyone that knows or has watched Allo Allo will know exactly what I mean. Anyone that hasn't, don't worry about it. I found the memorial stone and tree as we leave the Ada Salter Memorial Garden. You that. Poisonous, that is. Highly poisonous. I usually plant that in churchyards. Here is the tree, and here is the memorial stone. Dedicated by the Mayor on behalf of Bermondsey Metropolitan Borough Council as a memorial to Mrs. Ada Salter, whose life was devoted to the beautification of Bermondsey and the service of the people, relayed in commemoration of Dr. Salter, 1873 to 1940, I think that's 5, I can't really read that properly, and Mrs. Ada Salter, 1942 to the 24th of August 19. I'm going to zoom in on it. Dr. Salter, 1873 to 1945, Mrs. Ada Salter, 1867 to 1942. And it was relayed on the 24th of August 1995. And I'll end this off with something very purdy. The Caryatides. I said I'd end this off with something nice, didn't I? We'll have a closer look at them in a minute. Caryatides of Rotherhithe Old Town Hall. Designed and constructed by Henry Paul, RA, and opened on April the 28th, 1897, the town hall was sited on the corner of Neptune Street and Lower Road, with the rear of the building on Mudkey Street. These Caryatides originally flanked the main entrance of the old Rotherhithe Town Hall, which in 1905 was converted into a library. The building was severely damaged by German air raids of the Second World War and subsequently demolished. The Caryatides remained on their original site until 1974, when they were relocated within the Haygate estate just off the New Kent Road. In 2009, the Caryatides were removed when demolition of the estate commenced, and located back here in Rotherhithe in 2011. There's the old Rotherhithe Town Hall. About the Caryatides. Caryatides are a Greek architectural support in the form of a female figure which replaces the column or pillar. The significant differences between the two Caryatides is one is detailed with oak and the other laurel. Oak is often seen as an emblem of virtue and strength, resiliency, longevity and rebirth, and laurel is a token of peace and quiet, but also a symbol of triumph and fame. Here we are, that's the Caryatides, and that concludes our tour of Southwark Park. Hope you all enjoyed.